I had the idea to basically send an insane amount of power to each one of those speakers. Now, we all know the more the better when it comes to power, specifically power from amplifiers. Now, this is something that is probably one of the most scrutinized specs when it comes to amplifiers, AVRs, receivers, all of that. How much power am I sending to my speakers? Now, a general benchmark is about 100 watts. Most AVRs, some a little bit less, some a little bit more, but generally it's about 100 watts per channel for 2 channels driven. So if you have a 7-channel AVR and you're driving 7 speakers and it's rated for 100 watts at 2 channels driven, you're not going to get 100 watts to all 7 channels. It's only rated at that when 2 channels are being driven. Now, of course, when you're watching movies or listening to music, all speakers are not going to be needing to draw 100 watts, right? Like, so the idea of needing 700 watts, 100 watts per channel, that's not really going to come into play. But there's also the argument to be made about headroom, meaning you have this much power on tap, and even if you're only drawing this much, just having that much headroom, extra power available for those peaks when those big sounds hit, and it can jump up and it's not going to clip, it's not going to distort, it's going to maintain clarity. Having that headroom is a good thing. So I've been pondering on something for a while, and I have now finally implemented it. So this is what my situation is. So I currently have on loan the Trinnov Altitude 16 and Trinnov Amplitude 16. That's the Altitude 16 processor and the Amplitude 16 amplifier. And I have been driving all of the speakers here in my theater from that one amplifier or that one chassis that has 16 amplifiers in it. Now, here in my theater, this is a 9.2.4 Dolby Atmos setup. So 9 speakers on the bed layer, 4 height speakers for a total of 13 speakers needing amplification. So with that 16 channel amplifier, I'm using 13 of the amplifiers in it. So I had the idea, and I've kicked this around in the past, kind of messed with it, but not really. And so I decided, you know what, I'm just going to dive in and I'm going to check out this idea. So I have unused from my previous setup, which was an Anthem AVM 70 and then a collection of Outlaw Audio, Crown, and Buckeye amps. So I'm not using any of that equipment currently in my setup. So this is the idea that I had. The idea is take my 3 Crown amps. Those are 2-channel amplifiers. So there's 2 channels per chassis, but they have the option to bridge them. So the idea is take those 3 Crown amps, bridge each one of them, and dedicate one each for my LCRs, my left, center, right speakers. Now, here in my theater, I have Golden Ear speakers, and behind my screen, I have the Golden Ear Invisa SPS model speakers. These are in-wall speakers, and I have been very happy with how they sound. But I had the idea to basically send an insane amount of power to each one of those speakers. Now, the Trinnov Amplitude 16 amplifier is rated at 200 watts per channel. But of course, you're going to see a drop off the more speakers you drive. So I've been driving 13 speakers with that amplifier, that chassis. So by removing the 3 most demanding speakers from that chassis, now it's only driving 10 speakers and they're all sides, surrounds, and heights. Now the 3 most demanding speakers are removed from that Amplitude 16. And in addition to that, now instead of those speakers getting power at a rate of 200 watts per channel, the bridged Crown amps, so basically they are between 600 and 700 watts per channel in bridged mode. So 2 of them are the Crown model XLS 202. And in bridged mode, they are rated at 600 watts each. And then I have the XLS 1002, and it is rated at 700 watts. So I am currently sending 600 watts each, dedicated, not shared, not diminish the more speakers I add, because it's only powering one speaker. I am sending 600 watts to each of my mains, the left and right, and 700 watts to the center channel. This is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. These are numbers that we don't typically see in a home theater setup. So the big question is, did it make a difference? Well, first of all, I had to completely recalibrate everything. Now, if you're not familiar with Trinnov, it's a pretty complicated device. And so I enlisted the help of Chuck, who works at Trinnov, and he has been extremely helpful. And so he is able to remote into my device. It's connected to the network, so he can remote in to my Altitude 16 processor and then walk me through the entire process of how to calibrate it. And then all I had to do was basically just make sure the microphone was set up correctly and where it needed to be. And then he was actually able to control the machine. So he was actually able to make all the selections and do everything and explain as he went along. So we went through and we recalibrated the entire setup. Now immediately when he set the levels for where it was going to be for the test tones, the LCRs dramatically louder than every other speaker. And so there was a wide disconnect, a wide disparity there. And so what he did is he dialed the LCRs back 6 dB, and then that kind of got them more in line. They were still well above the others, but then it was closer, and he was able to get better readings, better measurement. Now, you may be saying, well, what's the point of having all this extra power if you just have to dial it back? I'm getting to that. Just hang with me here. Hang with me. So we go through the entire calibration process, and we calibrate with the new setup, with these new amplifiers powering the LCRs. And I may make an entire dedicated video about the kind of the entire calibration process that we went through step by step. It's actually pretty interesting. I think it might be interesting to a lot of you guys out there if you saw kind of the interface for Trinnov, though they are coming out with a new interface here probably beginning of next year. But I think it's probably going to be, the process is probably going to be roughly the same. So if you guys are interested in seeing a more in-depth look at the calibration process with the Trinnov, definitely let me know. So anyways, we got everything dialed in. We got the subs all calibrated, and then I was able to see, Chuck showed me how where the speakers were performing before the optimization, before Trinnov calibration made all of its tweaks and adjustments, and it looked pretty ugly. I mean, it wasn't terrible, like it's still, like the room is still pretty good, but there was a lot of room for improvement, and the Trinnov absolutely made an amazing improvement. Like it's a dramatic improvement. Like the frequency response graphs now look incredible. And so got all that dialed in. And then once that was all set up, then I went in and I individually, for my LCRs, I boosted each one of them by 3 dB. Now, here's the thing. You might be thinking, well, why did you need to connect them to all new amplifiers if you could have just boosted them by 3 dB in the previous setup? Like, why did you need to do that? Well, it goes back to this question of headroom, right? So now there is so much juice on tap for those 3 speakers that boosting them by 3 dB, first of all, the sound, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but even without the boost, even without that 3 dB boost, I noticed a pretty dramatic improvement in the performance of the front soundstage through the LCRs. But then adding that 3 dB boost, this theater just absolutely pops now. I mean, it is stunning. It is incredible. The soundscape the volume, the fullness, the richness, the how impactful the front soundstage is. Like the sound coming from the LCRs, the dialogue, it is incredible. It is absolutely incredible. One of the first demo scenes that I pulled out to test all of this is from Dune 2. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. The scene where he rides he finally gets on the worm and he rides the worm. And that scene is incredible because when it opens, it's very quiet and it's just them speaking. So it's just voices. It's very quiet. And then it escalates and you get a lot of thumping bass, literally thumping bass. And then just when he's riding it and the sand and the music, I mean, it's just incredible, right? I noticed right away the improvement in the dialogue clarity, the fullness, like when they're speaking, I mean, they're speaking pretty quietly, but the sound, I mean, it was in my face. I mean, it was just right there. And I'm pretty far back from my screen. I'm about 17 feet back from my screen. You know, if I had it to do over again in this room, I would definitely set the main listening position closer to the screen. But even at that distance, the sound is just, it's incredible. It is incredible. I don't think I'm going to be able to go back to having my LCRs powered from just, you know, a 200 watt amplifier. Like having these bridged amps where you have literally 600, between 600 and for one model and 700 watts at the other model on tap for your LCRs. That is just so much power and it makes such a difference. Now, the downside to these crown amps is they're kind of loud because they have cooling fans in them. And so that's not really a big deal for me because it's in a closet. But if you have a room where your equipment is in the room, the fans would definitely be distracting. It might not be great. Other than that, well, and they're not super pretty. Sometimes with amplifiers, you know, we like them to look really, really nice, kind of almost as like decorations in a room, kind of like the furniture, you know. And crown amps are not that. They are very utilitarian. They're very rugged. They have a very rugged look to them. So they're not pretty. They're not, you know, they're not beautiful. But again, not an issue for me. They're tucked away in a closet. I can't see them. All I get is what I hear from the result. And having those bridged amps powering my LCRs, guys, this is incredible. It is incredible. I'm not saying other people don't do this. I'm just surprised more people don't do this because from a cost perspective, I mean, I think you can buy these amps for like $400 a piece, right? So total for your LCRs, you're looking at, I don't know, between 12 and $1,500 to power your LCRs. And the amount of power, like it's just incredible. Like I just can't say enough good about it. It has been incredible. Like all morning, I've just been watching demo scenes. I brought my wife down here. I'm like, you've got to hear this. Come down here. She's got an even better ear than me. She watched it and she's like, oh yeah, that dialogue, having that come through so clearly and just, I mean, it really pulled the sound out away from the screen and brought it just into my face. It really did. Just having that much power. And dialing it up, just tweaking it up just a little bit, just a few dB from where Trinnov calibrated it. So this has been cool. I am so excited to try out more demo clips and just see how this goes. I honestly, I don't know that I'll be able to go back. I think I'm going to have dedicated amps for my LCRs, bridged dedicated amps from here on out because this is the way to go. So thanks for watching.